The city never truly slept. Not in the way it appeared on the surface. Even at its quietest, somewhere, someone was awake, someone was moving, someone was surviving. Before the first blare of traffic, before the neon signs flickered, before the rumble of subways or the hum of life began, there existed a brief, sacred hour. The streets were empty, silent, almost sacred. The world seemed honest in its stillness. And in that honesty, pain was unmasked. Loneliness was visible, human, real. It was during this hour that Daniel noticed him. Daniel stood outside a small construction supply store, rubbing his hands together against the morning chill. His shift wouldn't start for another 20 minutes, 20 long minutes to think, to worry, to feel the weight of a life that never seemed to get easier. At 32, Daniel owned almost nothing. No savings, no car, no safety net, just a worn jacket, tired boots, and a job that barely kept him afloat. His apartment was small, bare, and silent except for the occasional drip from a leaky faucet. Each day felt like a struggle against an invisible weight pressing down on his shoulders. As he stared across the street, his gaze landed on the closed coffee shop. There, leaning against the brick wall, was an elderly man. His coat hung loosely on frail shoulders, threadbare and inadequate for the cold. His shoes were cracked, worn down to almost nothing. His hands shook, not merely from the chill, but from a deeper exhaustion, a bone-deep weariness that could only come from being invisible, forgotten. People walked past. Some slowed for a moment, glanced at him, then looked away. Some crossed the street entirely. Others buried their eyes in phones, pretending he didn't exist. A child held a parent's hand, oblivious. A young woman hurried past, earbuds in, lost in her music. Daniel watched it all, his stomach tightening, his chest aching with an unfamiliar guilt. Daniel's hand slipped into his pocket. He knew what was there. Not much. Just enough for a simple breakfast, and nothing more. Skip it, and his stomach would ache for the rest of the day. Someone else will help, he whispered to himself. I can't afford this. I have my own problems. But the old man remained. Still, silent, waiting, not begging, not calling out, just there. Something inside Daniel shifted. A quiet, profound break. He stepped off the curb, crossed the street, knelt down. Sir, he said softly, careful not to startle him. Have you eaten today? The man looked up, surprised. As if no one had spoken to him in days, maybe weeks. His eyes, clouded and tired, softened slightly. Yesterday, he admitted quietly. Not today. Daniel swallowed. His chest tightened. He handed over the few bills in his pocket. Please, he said. Get something warm. The man stared at the money, then at Daniel, confused and humbled. You don't have much either, he said softly. Daniel nodded. I know. Why are you doing this? Daniel had no perfect answer. Because, I'd want someone to do it for me. The man's eyes filled with tears. What's your name, son? Daniel. Daniel, he repeated slowly, as though carving the name into memory. Where do you work? Construction. Just down the road. Thank you, the man whispered. You treated me like a human being. Daniel stood, letting the cold seep back into his bones, and walked away. He didn't know it yet, but that moment would echo far beyond the gray, empty streets of that morning. The father's words. Later that day, the old man arrived at his son's home. The moment the door opened, his son froze. Dad, he asked, voice trembling. The old man embraced him tightly. I thought I lost you, he said, his voice breaking. I've been searching everywhere. The son held him close. Exhaustion in his father's eyes mirrored in his own. They sat down slowly. The father described the morning, every detail etched into his memory, the cold, the quiet streets, the young man who had stopped. The coffee shop, he said. The cold, the young construction worker. He told me his name, Daniel. He didn't have much, but he gave me what he had. The son listened quietly, his heart heavy. That boy, the father whispered, didn't just feed me. He reminded me that I still matter. That night, the son could not sleep. Every word replayed in his mind. Every detail of Daniel's quiet kindness haunted him in the best possible way. The search. The next morning, the son drove straight to the spot his father had described. The corner. The empty streets. The same cold air that had held so much significance the day before. He waited, heart pounding. Then he saw him, Daniel. Faded jacket. Worn boots. Silent before work. The son stepped out. "Excuse me," he called. "Are you Daniel?" Daniel stiffened. "Yes. My father told me about you," the man said, voice calm but filled with gratitude. "He told me everything. Your name, where you work, every detail." Daniel shook his head. "I didn't do anything special." "You did more than you know," the man replied. His eyes were steady, sincere. An offer no one expected. The coffee shop opened, and they sat inside. "I run a construction company," the man began. "My father was an engineer once, before life took its toll." Daniel listened quietly. "I don't hire resumes," he continued. "I hire character." He slid a card across the table. "I want you to work for me." Daniel stared at the card. "Full benefits. Training. Growth." "You don't even know me," Daniel said nervously. "My father does," the man replied. Daniel's mind raced. A lifetime of struggle, a life where opportunity had always seemed just out of reach, collided with this unexpected chance. A new beginning. 3 months later, Daniel hardly recognized his own life. A steady job, a warm apartment, a future with possibilities. But the greatest change wasn't material. It was perspective. He saw people differently now. He saw potential, humanity, worth. One evening, he walked past the same coffee shop. Another man sat outside, cold and hungry. Daniel stopped, bought 2 meals, sat down beside him. "You didn't have to," the man said, surprised. Daniel smiled softly. "I know. The truth. Kindness rarely shouts. It asks for nothing in return. It does not seek applause. Yet, it remembers names, faces, moments. And sometimes, when life seems its darkest, it returns, reminding you that the world still has a pulse. That hope still exists. That humans, flawed, tired, struggling humans, can make a difference, quietly, without fanfare, without reward." And in that quiet, the city seemed just a little less lonely.